So hello good people of the internet, it is I, Tommy Kelly, and this is Adventures in Woo Woo. And in this episode, what I want to talk about is a bit about the 47s and using reversals and cards that are in counterbalance or even opposition to each other. So a question that comes up from time to time is whether you use reversals when you're doing a 47s reading. And reversals, for those who don't know, is basically when a card comes out and it comes out upside down, you're meant to read it as the opposite meaning of what the card initially means. In traditional tarot, this would be a big thing, so that if you have a tarot card that comes out and it usually denotes positivity or good fortune, that if it comes out upside down, then you would read it as bad fortune or like a loss of wealth or whatever it is, depending on what the card is. In the 47s, the answer to that is no, you don't use reversals. Or more correctly, I don't use reversals. You should use them if you want, or if you feel comfortable doing it, or that's the way divination works for you. And you shouldn't just discount that feeling just because it's something I don't do. The reason why I don't like reversals in the 47s is that there's a number of cards in the deck, and the way it's kind of designed is that there's a counterbalance or an opposing card for an awful lot of the major cards in the 47s. So it seems kind of redundant in many ways to take a card and read it as a reversal when there is a card that is the exact match for the reversal for that. So I want to go through a couple of the cards today and a bit about what they mean and how they work in conjunction with each other, or how their counterbalance or opposition is. So the very first ones I want to talk about is the fortunate and the depleted. Now this is obvious enough. The fortunate is all about good fortune and good things happen to you, and there being plenty, and almost like a feast of stuff around you. Things are good, life is good, all is going well, your plans are working out, and everyone's happy, and more of that is coming. The depleted, on the other hand, is that all your resources have been used up. You've come to the end of a particular era or part of your life. If you're in the middle of a project, the project has come to a natural end because, as I say, the resources have been used. There's just no more energy in it. Now that kind of implies that depleted is always a bad card or negative card because it's put up against the fortunate, which is obviously a good card. You can't be too fortunate. Maybe you can, but like in general, you can't be too fortunate. But the depleted would also represent, or would also be good if you were going through a particular bad time in your life, a particular dark night of the soul, or a particular tough situation, and you got the depleted. It would mark the end of that, that the resources have been used up of that particular thing that you're coming through. So it's not always strictly a negative card, but it certainly is the opposite card to, or opposite servant to the fortunate. The next ones I want to talk about is the road opener and the opposer. The road opener is all about the way ahead being clear, the lack of obstacles in your way, of new opportunities. You're opening new roads into the future. So, new job opportunities could arise, or you could be moving into areas of your life that you've never even thought of before, completely new open roads ahead. Whereas the opposition or the opposer is someone in opposition to you, a force or a person or a law, or something from an outside point of view is restricting you and stopping you from doing the things that you want, and kind of putting you in a bit of a container, or being kind of imposing structure on you that you don't need, that isn't freeing, that is kind of keeping you back, holding you back, all of those things. So very much opposite in nature, open roads, restriction. Next we have the thinker and the seer. And the thinker, of course, would be someone who comes to things rational, who is very scientific mind, who thinks you should think things through, and that the best way forward, or the best way to approach any problem or any situation, is logic, and logically thinking what it means. And there's a distinct lack of, say, emotion in it that you would get in the seer. Kind of think of it like a Vulcan, in that they restrict their emotions. They don't make any choices based on their emotions. To just go on pure logic. What is the most logical thing to do? Whereas the seer is all about intuition and feelings, and going with your gut, and having a more kind of feely way through your life, or through your, whereas you could through your problem. So like, look at your problem or whatever your situation is, and rather than think of it logically, well, this job opportunity is a good opportunity, it's better money, all of these things, but I have this feeling that it's not for me. And that's the seer would be that feeling, whereas the thinker would be thinking about it all logically, how you're meant to, that it's better for you from a logical point of view, not necessarily from an emotional balanced point or whatever kind of point of view. The next we have the devil and the explorer. Now the devil is kind of similar to the opposer, and it's about restrictions and bondage in a sense put on you, but it's the stuff you do yourself, whereas the opposer is an outside force. This is an inner kind of force. This is your hang-ups, this is your personal rules, this is your kind of things that you just can't get past, your shadow kind of stuff. And it's still more about restrictions, about being within your comfort zones and never try and get out of them, or being within your limitations. It's the things that you won't do, that you can't do, that you refuse to do, that stop you from getting possibly where you really want to be. It's all of these kind of limitations that you put on yourself. Whereas the explorer is the opposite of that, is the person who goes out and crashes through all of these kind of boundaries, or the areas of their lives where they feel, that they're not comfortable in, the comfort zones just are nothing, that they're exploring this great big vast kind of openness that is the human experience. So very much oppositional in nature. So then we have the I and the conductor. The conductor is all about you being the conductor of your life, you being in charge, you directing the music, you having your say and you doing what you want. So rather than being led by, say, society, or being controlled by, say, a boss or a spouse or circumstance, or a community or family ideas or anything, you are totally in control. You're the master of your life. You're the conductor. You are the leader of your orchestra, and the orchestra is your life. The I, on the other hand, is about kind of destiny, about fate, and about predeterminism, I suppose, that your life is kind of certain points of your life, or there's a plan involved, that there's no escaping, karma almost, so that you can't actually control some of these things, that there's a higher power at work in the universe, and no matter how you fight these things, these events, these situations, these things are going, there's nothing you can do about it. They're going to happen, they're going to exist. So again, the conductor leading your own life, the I, situations which the gods speak and you have to obey. Again, neither of them negative. The eye of God kind of thing, all is well on a bigger plan, can be very comforting and very true in times of great distress, where you're trying to see the bigger picture of it'll be worth it in the end, or things are the way they are, and things will happen for a reason, all of those type of things. And ultimately a lot of these things do, even if it's only comfort, which I don't think it necessarily is all the time, it's still a nice kind of a feeling. So then we have the balancer and the desperate. Now, the balancer is obviously about having all things in balance, that you have your work, and your social life in balance, you have your money, your finances all balanced, your emotions, you've balance between the thinker and the seer, so that you know who you are, and you can make, kind of well-rounded judgments about all things, taking in all kind of factors. Whereas the desperate is that, your life is falling apart. You can't control any of your emotions. Everything is spiking, everything is dark, everything is out of balance. Everything is, it's the total dark night of the soul, that kind of desperate, horrible depression, black dog feeling, where everything is just spiraling, and there's darkness and sadness and anxiety, and you almost feel like you have no control or say over your emotions, or who you are, how you deal with things. It's overwhelming, and it's all engulfing. So, good place. Probably is the worst in the sense of it's the most negative servant in the deck. But if you want to look at the positive side and put a thing on it, one of its functions is that it will feed on your negativity. So if you're feeling depressed or unhappy, you can offer it to the desperate, and he will happily take it off you, because that's all he knows, and that's what he feeds on, that's what he wants, and that's what he experiences. That is the completeness or the fullness of his being. Final two I want to talk about is the carnal and the chaste. And these are probably obvious enough in what the opposition is, where you have the carnal, which is all about indulging in physicality or sexual gratification, and the chase is refraining from these things, having a more disciplined kind of look about life, where you can't party all the time. Sometimes you have to just stay at home and rest or sleep and catch up on whatever it is. Just have a more disciplined kind of chaste outlook in life. Now that's not, that's fairly one-dimensional look at the two characters. The carnal is also about feeling good about yourself physically, about feeling beautiful, and about being worthy from a very physical point of view, and not having hang-ups of guilt around sex or around who you are, how you look, and all of those things. And the chaste isn't always about having no fun or not being a party poop or whatever that is. It's about that discipline. But it is that thing of, like, say, going on a diet because you've been overindulging. It's kind of the opposite of overindulgence rather than necessarily just discipline or refraining. It's having that kind of need or that want to focus again on something, just to maybe to rest if you've been doing too much, or to to gain more. So, like, say the diet thing or an exercise program, you're this disciplined focus to refrain from indulging in the gluttony or the physicality, or which are all needed and are all good things to have. It's like, we're not trying to say that you shouldn't. Obviously the carnal's there to signal that you should indulge in all of these things and feel no guilt around it. But sometimes you have to go the opposite way too. So that is kind of the I'm sure there's a few others that I'm missing out there, just the ones I pulled out of the deck today. So the reasons why I don't do reversals when I'm doing a reading is because that there is those cards that are in opposition to each other in the deck, and rather than, say, having the carnal come out in reversal and reading it as the chaste, I would rather just the chaste come out, and that would signify or denote that is what it is. So, good people of the internet, until our next adventure, be well.